Hey guys, welcome to my channel Stock My Closet. Today I'm sharing stitching of belt blouse. I've shared its cutting in my previous video. I've shared the link in the I button on the screen, description box and the comment section as well, so you can check it out from there. Now let's get started. Firstly, I'll finish darts, and before that I'll trace darts on the other side of the front. So you can use tracing wheel to trace lines of darts, or you can use your scissor. Just use pointed part of scissor on the dot points and press it like this. Just gently press it on the fabric to get the impression of dot points. Now turn around the fabric and mark it with the chalk. Now I'll stitch the dart. Center dart is 1 inch wide and rest of darts are ½ inch wide. I have marked tucks on the both sides. Now fold it like this and join the tucks. Now make a stitch from the bottom to the top. Make back and forth stitch at the bottom to secure the thread and continue the stitch till the top. On the top side, I'm not using back and forth stitch to secure the thread. Just cut the long tail of thread and make 2 or 3 knots to secure the thread like this. And cut out the extra thread. This will give you neat and pointed darts. Similarly, I'll stitch all other darts. So I've stitched all the darts. Now I'll attach the belt. Match both pieces from the center side and leave the extra fabric on the other side. There is 1 inch dart on the blouse and not on the belt. That's why there is a mismatch. But we'll trim the extra fabric on the belt after stitching both pieces. This is the wrong side of fabric and this is the right side of fabric. Now open it like this. Place right side of blouse on the right side of belt. Match the edges like this. Now roll the blouse and overlap the other side of belt like this. Match the edges and now I'll make a stitch. I've marked ½ inch seam allowance. So I made a stitch and I have trimmed the seam allowance. Now pull the blouse outside the belt like this. And you'll get proper finishing on both front and back side. Now iron it and trim the excess fabric. So I've attached belt on both pieces of front. Now I'll attach hook and eye placket, and for that I'm using leftover belt piece. Just place the fabric like this. I'm cutting 1.5 inch wide strip in 2 pieces. Now take the right side of blouse and place the right side of strip on the blouse like this and make a stitch. So I made a stitch. Now I'll fold the strip towards the wrong side of the blouse. Fold the strip by half in width like this. Now fold it again. This is the hook placket and this won't be visible on the right side of the blouse. Trim the seam allowance on the neck side and fold the seam allowance inwards on the bottom side like this. And now I'll make the basting stitch. So I made a stitch. I'll do the hemming and I'll remove the basting stitch later on. I have attached eye placket with the other front part. Now I'll fold it towards the wrong side of the blouse, and for that I have folded and ironed the 0.25 inch seam allowance. Now fold it again till the stitch line. This will be visible on the right side and covered with the hook placket. Fold the bottom seam allowance inwards like this. And I'll make a stitch on the edge and I'll trim the neck side seam allowance after stitching. So I made a stitch and this is how it will look. So both front parts are ready. Now I'll finish the back part. I've cut the back neckline and now I'll stitch the darts. Now place front on the back, right sides together and stitch shoulder slope on both sides. So I've stitched shoulder slope on both sides. Now I'll remark the measurements and I'll trim the excess seam allowance. So this is the back part and this is the front. Properly place the pieces. Match the center side. Exclude the eye placket. Now I'll mark the bust measurement, that is 9.25 inch. Don't include the eye placket in the measurement. Waist is 8.25 inch. Trace the marking on the other side. Now I'll stitch the side seam. So I made a stitch. Similarly, I'll stitch the other side. Now I'll finish the back bottom side. Keep the side seam allowance towards the back. Fold the bottom seam allowance twice like this. And I'll make a pasting stitch to secure it. So I made a stitch and I'll do hemming for the finishing. Now I'll finish the neckline, and for that I have cut out the 1.5 inch wide bias tape. Fold the bias tape by half in width and iron it. To finish front and back neckline together, we need long strip of bias tape. So I have joined two strips. So it's your choice according to the availability of fabric. You will need 2 to 3 strips of bias tape. Just join them together to make one long strip. Now fold the bias tape by half in width and place it on the right side of the neckline and make a stitch. Don't pull neckline or the bias tape, just gently place the bias tape on the neckline and make a stitch. Trim excess bias tape, leaving ½ inch for seam allowance. Trim the seam allowance on the neckline depending on how thick you want your piping to be. So I have trimmed the seam allowance. Now keep the seam allowance direction upwards like this and press it using your thumb like this and repeat it till the other end. Now fold the piping towards the wrong side depending on the thickness you need and make a stitch on the edge of the neckline. You need to make stitch on the neckline and not on the piping. Just make the stitch as close as you can. So I've finished the neckline and this is how it looks. Now I'll finish bottom and the sides of the sleeves. Fold the seam allowance twice like this and make a stitch. You can also do hemming on the sleeves. Now I'll stitch the side seam. So sleeve is ready. Now I'll attach the sleeve with the blouse, and for that take wrong side of the blouse and right side of the sleeve. Match the armhole. If they don't match, you can tight or loose the sleeve armhole. Now insert the sleeve into the blouse like this. Match the side seam and the shoulder and stretch both pieces little bit to check if they match together. And now I'll make a stitch all around the armhole. So I made a stitch. Similarly, I'll attach the other sleeve, and with this my blouse is ready, and this is how it looks. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you like this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and do subscribe my channel for more such videos, and I'll see you soon. Till then, take care. Bye bye.